So, let's get going. Today what I'm going to talk to you about is core strength. And a lot of times you hear people say it's important to have a strong core or tighten your core, but there's not a lot of places you really find out what that is. So I'm going to tell you quickly what that's all about, what your core is, what muscles are involved. Then I'm going to show you some exercises that you can do to strengthen your core. I'm going to tell you why your core is important. At the end, I'm going to give you a bonus exercise that will help another muscle group that will help with your back. And what I failed to mention is that having a strong core helps you to have a strong back. So when your core is nice and strong and tight, it protects your back. When you start to learn to use these core muscles, you use less of your back muscles to do some of the work that you're doing throughout the day, and so that spares your back from injury. So first of all, let's talk about the muscles. Usually people get focused on, so I can't see any comments right now, I don't know why, so if you're commenting, I'm really sorry. Hopefully when I replay, I'll be able to see those comments. So I played with it yesterday and I was able to see comments, but today, let me see if I can fill a little bit. Oh, hi Dawn, I do know Dawn's here. So hi. So, Dawn likes the beast. She did that beast exercise workout yesterday. So I can't see your comments. I'm super sorry about that. Let me just check and see. Oh, and Nicole's here too. Thanks, you guys. You're so nice to me. Because I'd feel really weird if I was talking to no one. But you got to do it to get people to watch, right? Okay, so I know you two that are watching, you've already seen these exercises, but it can't hurt you to see them again. And then you can share this with your friends that have never seen them before, so they'll be really good for them also. So, okay, so let's talk about the core. So most of us talk about a six-pack, we want to get ripped abs. But really what's important for back strength is all the core muscles. And so, when we talk about the six-pack, we're usually talking about these guys right here, your rectus abdominis, and they look really great. They don't do a ton for us as far as helping our back muscles. They do help, but what these muscles do is they attach from here to here. When they shorten, you bend forward. So really that's pretty much when you're getting out of bed, I hate to say it, but when you're throwing up, when you're bowing down and whatnot. So the six-pack muscles are involved in the core. There's also the oblique muscles. There's a group of muscles that come from the top, wrap around the front, and then a group of muscles that come from the bottom and wrap around the front. And these are the muscles that cause us to be able to rotate. So you can see with that rotation how it's pretty important that these are strong. It's really easy to twist your back out. Without these guys doing the work, if I just use my back muscles, then it's very likely some of the vertebrae back there are going to give in. So there's two other muscles that are super important that are very little talked about, and that's the transverse abdominis. These are muscles that lay this way. They're really deep in your core, and what they do is pull everything in nice and tight. So while they're doing that, they're really protecting your spine, kind of like armor or like a girdle, so they cinch really tight. At the same time, when your transverse abdominis are working and they're engaged and they're strong, that makes for you to have a small, tiny waist. Things aren't hanging out because the transverse abdominis are holding nice and tight. So the last set of muscles I'm going to talk about are the pelvic floor muscles. These are your go-pee muscles. So these are the muscles when you're jumping on a trampoline and you're like, I gotta go. These are the muscles that sling underneath at the bottom of your torso, and they are kind of like a hammock like this. When they contract, they pull in tight and they lift up, and that's what helps you to not pee on yourself. So those are the main muscles. There's also the diaphragm muscle at the top. And what these muscles do is when they're strongly contracted, they all squeeze in really tight from side to side, front to back, and top to bottom, and they make a nice tight box, and that box is, like I said, kind of an armor around your spine. There's also muscles that line the back of your spine that are involved in this as well, which we'll talk about another day. When you can get all those muscles to contract really nice and tight, that's what's protecting your spine from injury. It's also making your abs look nice and contracted. So it's not just about the crunches in the six-pack. One other muscle that we got to talk about just real briefly is the hip flexor muscle. When we do tons and tons of crunches, a lot of us feel like, oh, I got to do crunches to get my six-pack going. But when we do tons of crunches, there's some muscle that runs in front of your body, right down here, right in front, and it's involved in lifting your leg or pulling this way, just like the rectus abdominis. So when that muscle gets really tight, it actually contracts to attaches to your low back. So when it gets really tight and you're doing tons of crunches or you're sitting all day and it's short, it's going to pull on that low back and kind of cause an excessive arch, which can cause a lot of back pain. and people. So it's really important, if you have any back pain at all, I would really encourage you to stay away from the crunches and go with the exercises I'm about to show you. So let me show you. I wrote these down for you, so you can take a little screenshot of these, and then you can come back during the replay, which is live for 24 hours, and practice them again. And this way you can write these down for yourself. So here you go. I'm going to hold it there for just a second. What I'm going to have you do is 3 sets of these for 1 minute each. I find that, are you taking screenshots there? Or you can write that down? So I find that just going by the clock is a little bit easier sometimes than having to count, because as those of you here that are my private clients know, I'm terrible at counting, so that's your job. So, okay, so let me get you started on that. The first one is the abdominal vacuum. And what we're trying to do with that is, remember how I created a little tight box? We're trying to just practice getting that box engaged. I'm going to scoot down a little bit so you can see my mat. So all we're going to do here is just, I don't know if any of you have ever been to Disneyland in that, the haunted house, how you're standing in the elevator and the walls come down and they start to get smaller and smaller. It's a perfect example, or a trash compactor. That's a perfect example of what we want to do here. So all we're going to do here on this first one, super simple, all you have to do is lay around, so it's practically nap time right now. So this exercise, almost no excuses, because you don't really have to have equipment. You can do this while watching TV. You can do this in your truck, if I had not any truck drivers listening today. So you can do this in the bed of your truck. So all I want to do is just lay here with my feet flat on the floor. You're not going to see a lot of movement here, because all I'm doing is just making a nice tight box right here. I'm not going to suck it up like I was walking through the beach trying to look really good. I'm just going to pull everything in nice and tight. So my belly button, my transverse abdominis, my belly button, my spine draw together. Again, not sucking, but just kind of drawing together. And then the top and the bottom of the box. So what I want you to do for your minute is I want you to hold this and breathe at the same time. I don't want you to be super stiff. I want you to breathe at the same time, making sure that your belly isn't pooching out with this. You see I just lifted my belly. I want you to pull your belly all flat and make it nice, not like a bread loaf. So I want you to work your way up to holding this for a minute. But for today, what we're going to do is I'm going to have you hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then just let it rest. Give yourself about 3 seconds of rest, and then hold it all tight again. Like I said, you're not going to see a whole lot of movement, and then release. You can see where I just released me. And then one more time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you would do this. Repeat this for a minute, and then you gradually want to work your way up to holding that pose for as long as you can, because that's going to be what's going to create the core strength. One of the things that people have a hard time feeling is the ab muscles below the belly button, and that's something you really just have to focus in on. These guys need to activate, and sometimes it just takes practice. So if you're not feeling it here, just keep focusing on that part. Sometimes if you put your hand on it, it might help your brain to pay attention to those lower ab muscles. So that is something that a lot of my clients have a hard time getting in touch with, and we're just going to keep plucking away until you get it. So the next one is called dead bug reaches. So what you're going to do is lay down again, and I want you to imagine you have a bug crawling under your spine. You see my hands over here? It's pretty crazy. It looks like my arm's coming all the way around. But you see my hand under here. So my hand is going to disappear. Right now I could fit my hand under there because there's a natural curve in my back. I'm going to take it out. I'm going to squeeze that to the floor. I'm not necessarily squeezing my butt muscles. I'm just trying to squeeze as though there was a little bug crawling under my spine. And sometimes it's very helpful to have somebody put their hand under there so you can really feel if you're pushing hard enough. That's another time that it's hard to get those muscles activated. So you may want to roll up a towel, a small towel, and put it there. Have something to be able to feel if you're putting enough resistance. Okay, so we're going to squeeze that bug. You're going to take your knees and hips at 90-degree angles and your arms straight up. So how many bugs have you seen like this? So, dead bugs right here. So I want you to take your left arm and you're going to reach it over your head. These fingertips are still fucking straight up. And I'm going to take my right leg and extend it out. And I don't have to extend very far. The minute that my back starts to pop up, I'm done. I want you to take it only as far as your back can still stay really strongly smashed to the floor, because you don't want that bug to get out. Okay? Here in Idaho, we have brown recluses and hobo spiders and nasty bugs, so we don't want those out. Then you're going to take the other side, bring the arm overhead, and extend your leg, keeping your back firmly pressed to the ground the entire time. If you can go all the way without your back popping up, then go as far as you can, but stop just before your back pops up. So what I want you to do is just do these for a minute. We're just going to alternate nice and slow. All these exercises I'm doing with you today, you do not want to rush. These are all very slow and controlled, because our whole goal here is to draw the attention of the nervous system pathway to the muscles to get them to activate, because most people don't use them and most people don't know how to activate them, so it just takes practice. Okay, got two more. One is the knee presses. I want you to, again, get in a 45-degree angle, and you're going to take your hands and lightly press against your knees. I do want you to smash that bug against the floor. Keep it smashed the whole time. I want you to just really lightly press your hands against your knees and your knees against your hands, okay? So you're just going to hold that again at a 5-second count, and then release it. And then a 5-second count, and release it. Now that's going to be, you're going to do that for 1 minute, and again, you're going to stretch out that time that you're holding those poses. Maybe go 10 seconds as you get stronger, or go longer and longer and longer. So the next time around, like I said, we have 3 sets of this. So the next time around, you're going to maybe try it from a different angle. I want you to press on the outside of your knees, push your knees against your hands, and keep your back flat against the floor. And then the third time around, you can try to take your fists inside your knees and squeeze against your fists. Again, all this stuff, all the rules from the first exercise apply here. That's why we did that exercise first, because I want you to get the good form down first and then transfer that over to these other exercises, okay? So, last one. Well, not really the last one. I'm giving you a little bonus exercise here. The last one is just the plank. There's 2 ways to do a plank. Well, there's lots of ways to do a plank, but I'm going to show you 2 variations. If you haven't been doing planks before, I just want your elbows on the floor, your knees on the floor, and I want you to be in a slant like a broken tabletop. I don't want you here because there's not a lot of work going on there. I want you to drop your hips a little bit. If you're more advanced here, I want you to go up to your toes. What we don't want is this saggy, shloopy back thing going on, so I'm turning to the side a little bit. So we also don't want your butt in the air. I would rather see your butt a little bit higher in the air than to see your back shlooping, because it causes a whole lot of strain on the low back. So I want you to hold it super tight. I want you to relax those fingertips. Don't want you to death grip here. You can also squeeze your glutes here. It's going to wake your glutes up for our bonus exercise. So I want you to squeeze. I call this one a butt plank. That's when you're like really squeezing your glutes tight. Okay? All right, so that's a plank. You're going to try to hold that a minute. If you're not up to a minute yet, that's totally fine. Hold it as long as you can. Take a break and pick it back up and just complete the minute out. Okay? Your last one. The one muscle I was telling you about that's really important for a strong back also is your glutes. Oftentimes, weak glutes mean a weak back. When people sit all day, their glutes kind of fall asleep. The activation of their glute muscles fall asleep. So they tend to not use them, those glute muscles, as much. Therefore, the back takes over and does a lot of the work. So one thing I have my clients do when they come in after sitting, at their job all day or driving all day, is an exercise like this one to wake up the glutes before we even start the exercises for the day, so that their glutes are awake and active. So they're going to get a lot more out of their workout. So this one is called the walking glute lift. Okay. So this guy, knees are bent, abs are on or back is on the floor. You're going to lift your back up. I don't want you to lift it so high that you're pinching here in the low back. I just want to keep it nice and stable, like a nice flat table. I'm going to press now, if this is enough for you, this is totally great. You can do this, just hip bridges here. These will really strengthen the glutes. If you want a little bit more to this, I want you to take it up, tighten the glutes. I'm going to put my hands by the side, not pressing, but just laying them down nicely. I'm going to put the weight into my left heel as I lift my right foot, and I'm walking my glutes here. Now what I want to do is alternate slowly, shift the weight to the right glute as I lift my left leg. What I don't want to do is I don't want my hips to know that my legs are moving. So I don't want lots of swaying going side to side. I just want to keep it super sturdy and tight, nice and slow and controlled, just like those ab exercises. Because the idea here is to wake up your glute muscles and get them working. You can, again, like I said, you can put these at the beginning of a leg day workout to fire those glutes and get them awake and get them going so they know they're ready for action. So there you go. So those are all 4 to 5 exercises, 4 exercises with a bonus. Like I said, I ordered these on purpose because we want to get those abs to activate first and then go in and work them at a little bit different levels. So I'm going to show you this again. I'm going to have you do 3 sets of this, which means I want you to go a minute here, a minute here, a minute here, a minute here, and a minute here, and then go back to the top and do it again. So that gives you 15 minutes of a really strong core exercise that works a lot of those core muscles. I would suggest you do these about 3 times a week at the very minimum. You don't want those muscles to recover too long because they won't ever really gain strength if you give them too much recovery. So you could do these every other day to start. I really have a lot of my clients, I like them to do them every day. I don't know how many actually do, but